Today, I authorized 2 operations in Iraq. Targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel. Last night, on my orders, America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan.
They did what?
Today, I authorized the armed forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya. Because
Libya? Oh, shit, I ain't never heard of Libya.
To our
That's
national
new.
security, they can take the diplomatic...
So at the end of the day, the question all it comes down to is y'all really mad at the strikes, or is y'all just mad at the person who did it? Because Obama did the same goddamn thing, but we didn't hear nobody talking about he bombed the country and shit. He didn't bomb no fucking body. These are military operations that go on throughout our country. This is why we have a military, the armed forces, the Marines, and all this shit, and have all this equipment that's worth billions of dollars. This is what this is for, to do stuff like this, operations. Where do you think they came up with the game Call of Duty? Like, y'all liberals think y'all slick though, but best believe though, I'm on y'all ass all day though.
Boy. So now that it looks like we're not going to get World War III, which some people, are upset about, right? So it seems there are people who seem to not be very happy that we're not getting World War III. But regardless, we got to talk about how silly the Democrats and liberals look, who basically call for President Trump to be impeached over these military strikes against Iran. Okay, this is what they were calling for, claiming that President Trump is in violation of the Constitution. Take a look.
Intentionally making an attack that wouldn't really hurt anybody, that wouldn't really lead to a war, which Iran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come back to the negotiating table now is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, what a impotent leader to be sitting there talking about coming back to the negotiating table. It's like sitting after Pearl Harbor and telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese.
Right.
Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so, yeah, Donald Trump looks, and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one. Wow. And not on some not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of, corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says the president shouldn't be impeached because he's impulsive. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, of course, no. She knows it. I know it. We all know it. That's not going anywhere. And, he's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too. So it's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's helpful. And I think if you throw that term around, that actually diminishes what the severity of what impeachment is really reserved for.
AOC is calling for Trump to be impeached. That's really highly unlikely, isn't it, Congressman?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, again, with her, so stupid, so ridiculous. All this is just, trying to say something to get on TV or have a soundbite that gets carried in media. The Democrats didn't say anything when Barack Obama launched airstrikes against Libya. When Barack Obama launched airstrikes against Syria, they did nothing. They were quiet. They cheered him on, so on and so forth. The president of the United States does have constitutional authority for strikes when it comes to military force. That's why they're the commander in chief. And so a lot of colleagues on Capitol Hill, they're talking about the War Powers Act. But the War Powers Act is something that's been litigated in court time and time again, and it does not obstruct a president of the United States from using military assets when they are in the key national interest. And I will add, one of the things that is crystal clear is that the Iranians were trying to actually create nuclear weapons. There's a reason why they have a ballistic weapon system, ballistic missiles weapon systems. There's a reason why they were trying to create ICBMs. And that was simply not to just have things they can light off as fireworks in the sky above the skies of Tehran. They wanted it to be able to flex their power in that region and around the globe. And since they are a terror factory, that is a fact, we simply could not let that happen.
Donald Trump and his actions, which do not appear to be consistent with the United States Constitution, takes unilateral offensive military action without seeking the approval of the United States Congress. the use of military force, which is offensive in nature, must be approved by the House and the Senate. That's according to the Constitution. It's not optional, Donald. It's not. The framers of the Constitution actually gave Congress the power to declare war for a reason, so the American people, through their elected representatives, would have the opportunity to debate the issue and make some decisions as it relates to what's in the best interest and the national security of the American people. Donald Trump and the administration chose to ignore the Constitution. And so they're going to have to come before Congress and explain their justification for an offensive military strike against Iran.
Yeah, see, now you heard that. Now, people, including liberals, right, including the liberal media, they're pointing out the obvious when it comes to the hypocrisy of the Democrats and some of these Trump-deranged individuals who are basically calling for President Trump's impeachment, right? They're basically saying, well, look, Obama, with his military strikes, where are you guys at calling for Obama to be impeached, okay? Because Obama dropped 26,000+ bombs on foreign countries, and none of these people are out here talking about trying to impeach him, right? He should be impeached for starting a war, right? Okay, without congressional approval, right? No, they all justified it, right? With the same reasoning that President Trump and Biden as well too justified strikes on these foreign countries. And even Charlamagne the devil called out the Democrats and their hypocrisy on this issue. Take a look.
This is one of those times where politicians sound like hypocrites, because Mark Kelly is right. Presidents should get congressional approval, but there have been a bunch of presidents who have ordered strikes without congressional approval. Barack Obama did it against Libya. Joe Biden ordered strikes in Iraq and Syria without congressional approval. Bill Clinton did it to was it Kosovo, I think you pronounce it. So presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become pretty routine. So is it always a thing when they do it? I'm just asking. I don't know.
No. Well, this is where those articles of impeachment come up, and that's why House Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she actually says that President Trump's decision to strike Iran could lead to impeachment.
So why didn't I'm just saying? So why didn't it lead to impeachment for everybody else? Like when Barack Obama did it, when Biden did it,
but it has, not that it necessarily. Well, the people in Congress or congressional members will call for it. Does it necessarily mean that that they'll move forward with the impeachment process? Not necessarily, but there have been times in the past that these congressional members have called for impeachment of the president because of their military actions or actions that they've taken with the military without having that congressional.
I don't even.
It hasn't been this much backlash.
Yeah, I don't even remember hearing about it during the Joe Biden administration.
But I guess that's because the way Trump has been moving, but we haven't heard about it when Obama did it. We didn't hear about it when Biden did it.
I do remember when Obama did it. When Obama did it, I do remember, people in Congress saying he needed congressional approval and they were making it a thing. I don't remember the Biden thing at all. I don't remember that even making a headline.
I was going to say, I don't recall, but people were very upset about the way that he, that went without, that people were very upset about the way that he withdrew from Afghanistan. I mean, that was certainly a thing as well. I mean, they were it was a thing.
Yeah, the only reason I know about Biden, because I read an article on NBC News last night that was literally about this. It was the headline was, "Presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become routine," and it talked about Biden citing Article number 2 in the Constitution, which makes the president commander in chief, and I guess basically saying he don't need congressional approval, and that's when he ordered the strikes in Iraq and Syria.
Now, here's where I get frustrated, because once again, here's the novice that's a centrist that comes into play, and he's listening to all of this stuff, and here's where I get infuriated. The Democrats are calling, or at least some of them, are calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Same old song and dance. Thought we heard this before. I thought that was over and done with. The minute you lost the election with the popular vote in the Electoral College vote and losing every sweep state. I thought we were over that. But evidently not. Question number 1. No matter what you feel about the President of the United States, do you think that's the time while we're in the middle of such strife, to be calling for the impeachment of the President of the United States? Particularly if you're a representative, you're an elected official in the United States of America? I don't think so. That's number one. Number two, were the Democrats saying that when Obama bombed Libya, when he was in office? We're making all of this noise about how the War Powers Act is utilized and how Donald Trump didn't receive congressional approval. Well, this is not an act of war. This is eradicating a threat. Civilians weren't targeted. Nuclear sites were targeted. So if nuclear sites were targeted, but no civilians were targeted, then that's not a war. At least not yet. Which means that you can navigate your way around the War Powers Act itself, and you don't have to concern yourself with receiving congressional approval. The Democrats know that because of Obama. So if you knew that because of Obama and you didn't say it when it involved him in Libya, why would you turn around and all of a sudden try to make that case against Donald Trump?
Isn't it obvious, Stephen A? Is because it's always different when Democrats do it, right? The Democrats don't give Trump the same benefit of the doubt that they give, Obama and Biden, right? Obama and Biden, they're allowed to start as many wars as they want, right? And they're not out here talking about, well, let's enact a War Powers Act, right? Let's stop the president from doing this, okay? They don't do that, okay? They bend the knee, okay? They don't stand up for their so-called principles, right? But then when Trump does something and they want to virtue signal politically, now all of a sudden, we got to stop him from doing this. This should have been an act of Congress. Well, here's a news flash, right? The reason why the president has as much leeway in the first place is because Congress, they don't want to act on this stuff. They don't want to formally vote on any type of military operation outside of an actual full-scale war, right? They don't want to vote on it because they know that it is politically unpopular, right? Kind of like the Iraq war, okay? So, yeah, they kind of know that, hey, we kind of let the president take the heat for it, right? That is what Congress has decided, okay? And the presidents, the executive branch has basically ran away with this, right? They've essentially taken advantage of Congress being weak on this issue. So now it's not the time to boo-hoo, whine, and cry. And even Sunny Hostin tried to boo-hoo, whine, and cry on The View about this, and she was corrected, put in her place by Jonathan Karl, an ABC News liberal anchor. Take a look.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have called into question the constitutionality of Donald Trump's actions. He bypassed Congress, potentially violated the War Powers Resolution. I believe this is certainly a clear violation of international law at the very least. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries accused the president of misleading the country as to his intentions. What do you think are the possible ramifications that President Trump could face for arguably overstepping his authority?
Well, look, constitutionally, only Congress has the power to declare war. The War Powers Act would make it seem very clear you need to have congressional approval on this. But president after president after president has launched military action without the approval of Congress.
Yeah.
And Congress, under Democratic and Republican leadership, has complained the president is violating the War Powers Act. This is not new. I mean, I go back. I covered Bill Clinton and the military strikes against Kosovo back in 1999. Again,
that's why I think it's more of an international law violation.
But look, it's a Republican Congress right now. I don't think he's not getting any blowback from within his own party, with the exception of Tom Massie.
So what's the good of having it then if they all violate it?
Well, that's a great question. I mean,
we've been using the 2003 AUMF to authorize every military strike in about 25 years. So Congress can't be feckless and then be mad when they don't like the outcome.
Yeah. So that was after 9/11. Congress passed this authorization of military force against. It was supposed to be against Afghanistan, for harboring Al Qaeda, and it has been used over and over and over and over.
Yeah, so that definitely was not the answer that she was looking for, right? And it's just so funny how the hypocrisy is so glaring, right? It's so in your face that even the liberal media anchors are like, yeah, Democrats, liberals, you guys have no room to talk on this, right? It doesn't matter who is in office. There are going to be presidents that issue these type of unilateral strikes against other countries. And that's just what it is, right? And you haven't had a problem with it before, and now all of a sudden you having a problem with it is, again, very hypocritical, okay? Because, again, it's always, well, when Democrats do it, it's good. When Trump does it, it's bad, right? It's always that, okay, with these people. And it's just funny to see their hypocrisy get called out. Ultimately, today, if they want to hold anybody to a standard, they should hold themselves first to that standard. But until they hold themselves to an actual standard, they can't hold anybody else to a standard. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.